offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
To the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
Yo, it's Monday. It's Motivational Monday. But what's more important is it's National Awesomeness Day. Like, we do these daily things. Rebel will talk about today what national days they are, or international days, or holidays. This has got to be my favorite, because there's nothing better, especially in the times we live in right now, where people are going through so much turmoil, so many things happening in their life, that we just got to wake up in the morning, daylight savings time, and realize it's National Awesomeness Day. And I think it should be National Awesomeness Day every single day of the week, because everybody's awesome. Even the people I don't like, they're awesome. Okay. Even my co-hosts, the Pipe Nuts, they're awesome. Even if I tell you they're not. Okay. But today they are, because it's National Awesomeness Day. And we have an awesome guest today. And she's like my guide today to my past life. No, it's not spiritual. It's because she is an investment coach and financial advisor, CLU, ChFC. She's just awesome at finances. She is awesome at helping you to optimize your outcomes. So we'll bring on the Pipe Nuts right now, and then we're going to bring her on because she is Bonita Bell-Andersen. Well, hello, Bonita.
Oh, hello.
So I want you to meet our Pipe Nuts here. These are my Pipe Nuts. That's Swamp Nut down there, who runs our Louisiana studio. Yeah, and since I'm a New York, New Jersey Italian Jew, I don't really like her too much because she's from Louisiana, but that's okay. I do like our studio nut much better, because he's, his ancestry's from the South neighbors that are our friends. That, I don't know. I think Florida should become part of Mexico, maybe at this point.
Maybe.
So let's.
Well, it wouldn't be so much.
If there's Studio Nut and Swamp Nut, shouldn't you be something Nut Pipe Man?
I am the chief nut, is what I am. Okay. And seriously though, I think the whole world should be friends on National Awesomeness Day. And since we're on National Awesomeness Day, and before we get to you, Benita, is it international? Oh, that's even better. Okay. So before we get to Benita, so this is Rebel's segment, and she's going to tell us about all the days there are today. And I'm either going to like them or I'm going to hate them, and we'll find out which. But it doesn't even matter how many I hate today. Just the fact that it's International Awesomeness Day is enough for me. What else do we have, Rebel?
It's Commonwealth Day. Yay or nay? Which one?
Well, if I were in the UK, it would make a difference to me, but not really here. So next.
Okay, because we don't have Commonwealth. Okay, so Festival of Life in the Cracks Day.
Well,
They show a
what
little
is
picture
that?
of weeds
Wait a minute.
growing up out
What
of
does that
cracks and holes.
mean? Is that like, okay, so this is where we have to go more like the Wednesday show than the Monday show right now. It
Yep.
sounds to me it's more like that's what you light a candle when you flatulate.
No. Okay. What they show is a picture of a crack in the ground, like a crack in the sidewalk or something with growth coming up out of it. Festival of Life in the Cracks Day.
Persistent.
Now, you can take it however
Oh, see,
way
I was
you
thinking
wish to.
light. I was thinking light. That's why I said,
Light.
okay, life in the cracks. So that's if in 2025, you know, you don't do any kind of scaping. Is that what that is?
We're not going to go there.
Okay. What's the
It
next
could
day
be.
it is?
You wish it you mean, but we're not going there. Okay.
Okay.
Fill our staplers day.
You know, I miss that day. Like, I don't use staplers anymore. But when I did, okay, I used to celebrate. Like, it's so cool when you put the staples in there and it's a full thing, and then people piss you off and you can shoot the stapler at them because it's full. Okay, next.
I don't think people
Okay.
even use paper anymore.
I know, right? Like, but I have had things stapled recently, so thank God there's still a National Stapler Day.
Oh,
Okay,
goodness.
go ahead.
Histotechnology Professionals Day.
What's that mean?
What?
Do you have any clue
What the hell is that?
Out
That's
of
the
all the
people
ones
who
that could have,
take tissue samples and they
Yeah.
examine tissue samples. Histotechnology.
Well, that's just gross. Why are you walking around and taking people's tissues and sampling them?
there are better things for today, though. It's National Landline Telephone Day. We can all remember.
Wait,
those, right?
I want to celebrate that one because, listen, I miss the days of the landline where you could. I was just talking about a story yesterday where you could eavesdrop on your kids' conversations and catch them doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing before they actually do it.
Yep.
You know, we can't do that anymore with cell phones.
Or
It's
slamming your
terrible.
phone
Camera in the
after
room that
an
they're
angry
talking in.
argument.
Yeah, I miss that. I miss throwing my phone against the wall. Now it's like, oh my God, my phone's $1,500. I'm not throwing it anywhere.
You should not
Before
be
you could
paying
just
that much
slam the
for a
phone on somebody, you know?
Okay, so International Lyme Day. International Day of Awesomeness.
Shouldn't International Lyme Day be on Cinco de Mayo?
It should be.
It's preparing
Right?
you for, because we just had Cinco de Marcho, remember?
Yeah, but I don't know what they serve on Cinco de Marcho, but Cinco de Mayo, it's definitely going to be some Corona cerveza. So it needs the
Margarita.
lime. It needs the lime. Okay. Yeah, that too. Okay. Okay. So go on. What other days is it?
But don't try sucking on a lime today because it's International Bagpipe Day. It might be hard to blow the bagpipe if you suck on a lime.
Oh man,
Now,
I
here's
like
one of my
that day.
favorites.
I like bagpipes.
Mario Day.
Is that Mario?
Yeah,
Wait, is that
But
A game?
still,
okay? I wanted to
Mario
make
Day.
sure because I wanted to make sure it wasn't my buddy Mario that owns a pizza shop down the street. Okay, go ahead.
No. Mario and Luigi. I was going to wear my Princess Peach dress today, but we have a guest. So I said, no, I will
Oh,
stay
darn.
Yeah,
inappropriate. And
Save your peach for Wednesday shows, okay? No peaches
Yeah,
on Mondays.
If I had known today was National Skirt Day and International Weekday, I would have come with a different outfit. But you know,
But do you wear your skirt when you're playing your bagpipe? That's the question.
absolutely. It's
and
not a
whose
skirt, it's a
bagpipe are
kilt,
you
but it's
playing
okay.
with?
Okay, that's going a little far, Juan. Okay.
I don't know their traditions.
Monday.
It's from the other side of the world, you know.
Juan,
I don't know
you're
what they
ruining
do.
my impression of you, Juan.
Yeah. Well, we got to do this stuff in the beginning of the show so people like are going to stay tuned in, realizing that like it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about finances. Okay,
Yeah,
so what else, Rebel?
National Blueberry Popover Day. National Ranch Day. Oh, let's see. National Workplace Napping Day.
Yeah, listen, I have a problem with that one right there, okay? Because I have two of my workplace people on the show here.
Darn.
You guys nap. If you guys nap, you're fired, okay? I'm just saying, I don't care what day it is. I don't care what day it is today. There's no napping allowed. Okay, go on, Rebel.
Pack your lunch day, Salvation Army Day.
Wait.
US
Pack your lunch day. How many of us here pack their lunch today? Raise your hand.
Every single day.
All right.
We
well,
have
there you go.
to. It's not like we
It's
can go anywhere.
pack your lunch day every single day for me.
Okay,
Me
so
too.
so there is some see, a lot of these days have correlations because, basically it's pack your lunch day and then you go into a food coma and take a nap at work.
Right.
That's what today is. Okay.
I don't think we
It
brought
does
enough to
happen,
have
yeah.
a coma at work. So Salvation Army Day. Yay for the Salvation Army. Cool beans. Please donate to your local Salvation Army. That's your
Good.
PSA for today. It's also US Paper Money Day. What? Paper
Well, I'm
money?
all for that. That's got to be the last one we talk about then, because we're going to be talking about paper money and finances and investments and stuff. So I'm glad that's why I picked Bonita for you to be on today, because it's National Paper Money Day. Okay.
And we're all wondering if the penny is going to still be around.
Oh, yeah, that would be a bummer.
It shouldn't though, because doesn't it take more to make it than what it's actually worth?
Yes.
Listen, I'm a Jew, and I don't even pick pennies up off the ground anymore. Why not? Because they're not good luck.
They're not
good
even
luck anymore.
copper anymore.
Yeah, they're not good luck anymore. If they were made of copper, then they're worth something. Literally, you know what people do for copper? Okay, so my dad had a spa store, and all the wiring in the whole place was copper, and his employees used to steal that, like the copper wiring, so they could go down and sell it down at the local place, like a pawn shop or whatever it is, and making big money. They were making more money off of the copper they were stealing than they were off of working. So I don't know. There's a problem with that scenario.
Yeah, I've heard of people who target like construction sites after they put all the wiring in to steal all the copper wires.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys got to keep your phone off, but I normally do this thing on my show. If people dare to call me during my show are going live on the air. So hold on one second. We're going to answer this call. Hello, Dr. Taylor. I just want to tell you are live on the air on the Adventures of Pipeman right now.
Okay. I'm going to remember not to do that.
So I have this rule, like if people call me during my live show, that I answer the phone, and some people I let them promote what they do, and other people I make fun of them. So which person would you like to be?
I would rather promote what I do.
All right, so let's do that. Tell everybody a little bit about you, and you have a new show coming up on the network. So tell them a little bit about that, and let's give you some free promo. See, it was worth calling at this time right now. You're lucky. The last person that called did not like calling.
Well, hey, the universe is guiding me. So yeah, I'm a doctor. I'm originally an OBGYN, and I got interested in bioidentical hormone replacement and became more of a holistic physician. And now I'm getting really interested in how quantum physics explains spirituality and how it can make a person heal. I've been trying to make people, well, but really people need to be healed, and they need to be whole. And there's an ageless blueprint from that. And I went to Egypt to try and study that ageless blueprint. And it's all about bringing balance and harmony to your life so you can have peace. And when you're in a state of peace, that's when you can create whatever you want in your life. So it's about finding that peace so that you can not react to what's going on, but you can actually create a new life for yourself if you just follow this ageless blueprint. So that's the podcast is coming up. I'm a regular guest on Ask the Experts with Stephen. That's how I met Dean. And so I'm kind of branching off from that into this.
Well, we are super excited to have you on board because you're speaking my language with that. Why don't you tell everybody real quick how they can reach out to you on socials or any other website or any other way to contact you at this point?
Well, I'll tell you, the way to really understand what I'm trying to do is to go to my school platform, and it's at www.skool, not CH, skool.com/ageless. And if you go there, I have free copies of my 2 books, Are Your Hormones Making You Sick and The Stress Connection. There are audio books, there's ebooks. I'm giving those away to give you a blueprint of where we're going to go. That's where I've been, and then I want to take everybody where I'm going.
Well, I'm glad to come where you're going because you know what? You passed the test today because I put you on the spot. And this proves what a great show you're going to have because you didn't need any preparation, any notes, and you just, it was like you knew what you were doing. It's amazing. I love it.
As I found out, I don't talk about anything I don't know. And when you know something, it's easy to talk about it.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's kind of my motto.
All right. Well, cool. So meanwhile, call me back in about 45 minutes to an hour, and I won't embarrass you on my show because I'll be off the air.
Okay. All right. No problem. All right. Thank you.
All right. You got it. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
See that being lesson to you, Bonita. That's like stuff can happen during the show, and you can either just take advantage of it or let it throw you off. I don't let it throw you off. And here we are, Paper Money Day. Okay. And okay. So here's the thing. My first question, I'm going to ask some questions. We can have Studio Nut and Swamp Nut and ask questions too. But because I'm going to ask maybe questions a little differently because I was in your shoes. So I understand it very well. And I think we're in times where people need experts like you right now more than ever because people don't know what to do, I think, at this point with everything that's going on in the economy and the stock markets and everything else. But my question to you, very, very important, is why should I come to Bonita Bell-Andersen for advice on my finances or anything else in life? And what will my benefit be?
Well, you're kind of playing into my story a little bit.
Oh, good. So it was a good question. Did I ask a good question?
Yes, you did. You asked a good question.
Okay. Let's hear the answer.
I had met my first husband in college, and after 25 years of marriage, I won't go into the gory details, but I found myself going through a divorce, and I was broken. This was like mid 40s, and I'm like completely broken. And the bottom line today is going to really be about how you think. And I remember what I did was I characterized myself as being curled up in a ball, sucking my thumb because I was so broken by the divorce and just the change in life and just all the crazy things that were going on. And there was one day where I like snapped out of it. And I basically said, damn it, I am not going to let this destroy me. And what I did was, instead of playing poor me and the mistakes that had been made and the wrong that had been done to me and all this stuff, I basically started thinking about my 3 daughters. And I started going, I need to be as whole as I can be so I can support my girls. And so it was like the beginning of a purpose bigger than you, that whole concept. And so it was from that point on that I started reinventing myself. And so I am a big believer in why someone should listen to me is because I've been through it and I've lost everything at that point. And I saw what can happen to someone. And, you know, you can think of yourself as a good person, and why do bad things happen? Well, sometimes things just happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's the way we learn to cope with things.
Yes, it's not. My huge passion around this is that it's not what happens to you. It's what do you make of it and how do you get out of it? And so I have seen a lot of people who have referred others to me saying, you should go see Bonnie because she's been through it. Well, what that means is that they're going to somebody that they feel is going to understand them.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a big why. And so this whole thing today is kind of I'm going to be saying, why are you doing this? Why is it important? And so if you have an understanding, if you have a backstory where you know what it feels like, then I think you're better able to help people. You have empathy for them and you have some sense of what they're going through.
Yeah. I think people need that too. They need this sense of that, you have walked in their shoes, because people always think, oh, you wouldn't know what I'm going through, even if it's something similar, because if it's not the same, maybe you don't know what they're going through. And so you have this amazing radio show, streaming TV show, podcast here on the network called
I'm absolutely loving what I'm doing.
And that's the best part too, right there. Ask good questions. And actually,
because at that point, I wasn't asking good questions. That's where that came from, Dean.
Wow. So tell us about that.
Well, all the financial mistakes I've made in my life, and I basically self-sabotaged myself for a long time. And when I look back, I can go, oh, I didn't ask good questions. I didn't even know what the right questions to ask were, like investing in some real estate stuff that I had no business being in. And then 2008 hits. Well, if I would have known to ask some other questions like, do you have the ability to pay a mortgage on a rental house if the market crashes? Well, that would have been a good question to ask myself.
That's a good question.
So the whole thing about ask good questions has applied in many, many, many areas of my life, in just saying you need, which also plays into another little theme of today for me, is invest in yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Go out and get the knowledge that you need. Go to people who have been there, done that. And there's lots of people, but don't go to people that you feel are going to be able to be on some kind of level playing field with you as far as, what they've been through. But you have to invest in yourself, because if you don't, you're never going to learn what's important for you.
That's true. Absolutely. And it is about what's important to you. And, it's funny you talk about ask good questions. I'm a big believer in questions. Questions are the best way to find out everything, and that's where, like, we put kids down when they're little kids because they ask 10 million questions because people might think it's annoying, but that's how they learn. That's how you should learn. And like me, in any situation in life, I always ask myself, what am I looking to accomplish? Because the questions also do two things. They allow you to rethink things, but they also allow you to take a pause and not react. Okay. So whenever I'm in a reactionary mode, I'm going to ask myself what am I looking to accomplish? And usually when you're reacting, you're not going to accomplish anything. So that's why that's a good question. And like Tony Robbins, he has a great question for when you don't know the answer to something. Like if he asks you something, you say, and I believe this wholeheartedly, and you say, I don't know. His response is, well, if you did know, then what would it be?
Right.
And it works. People think it's silly, but it changes. It triggers something in your head where you can actually think of that. Now, we happen to have your engineer here on the show today.
No.
So the engineer, more than anybody else, probably knows more about your show because they have to listen to every bit of it all the time. So let's have the engineer ask you a good question.
I was supposed to listen. I thought I just had to engineer the show.
He's trying to weasel out of it, Dean.
Yeah.
I know, right?
So here's the question. What is like the most common problem that you face with your clients?
There's a couple. One of them is wanting to just say, here, you take care of it. And I'm going, no, I want you need to be responsible for you, and you need to understand why you're doing what you're doing. So one of the problems that I have seen is people just saying, I don't want to deal with it. And that's fine to a point if you know what you're doing, and then if you monitor. But I have seen people, go through train wrecks. Well, there's lots of examples of scammers out there who people have just blindly given their money to somebody, and then they get scammed, and all kinds of terrible things happen.
That was my comment to that. Like, when you give people that much power in the financial industry, a lot of times it might fall into the wrong hands,
Yeah.
And like when I was in the industry, I had power of attorney over a lot of my accounts, but I still, even though I wasn't required to, would call them with every trade that I was going to do and a confirmation when it was done, even though I didn't have to, because you should be a participant in your own financial future. Right. Okay. And you should never, ever look at all of the rock stars and sports legends that have ended up broke by that exact thing, and because they didn't know what questions to ask.
Right. And they were divorced from having the desire to be involved in their own success.
Correct.
You have to be, you have to have, it's your life. It's not, and so you can't give that other person that type of power. You need to understand what you're doing.
I think it holds true in healthcare too. That is why we have the issues we have today. And I even have a perfect example, my own story, when I had a heart attack and I was in the hospital, and the doctor didn't even see me, and they were just going to roll me down to do some procedure. And I was like, wait, I want to see the doctor and I have questions to ask. And my son, who's now 40, and this was like 7 years ago, he's like, so it wasn't a little kid saying it. He's like, Dad, just do what they tell you to do. No. And that was my exact answer to him. No, I'm not going to do what I want to know, all the information so I can make an intelligent decision. So I waited for that doctor, because otherwise you just go down there and they're going to do whatever they want. And you don't even know the reason why. You don't know what your risk is. You don't know what your reward is. And I wanted to know all that. I asked him when he came up, I'm like, tell me the worst case scenario, the best case scenario, and everything else in between. Right. So I can make an intelligent decision of whether the risk is worth the reward. And that's a huge phrase in financial world. Like, you need to know for your own personal situation with whether the risk you're about to take, whether it's a small risk, big risk, doesn't matter, is worth the reward, and if it's going to achieve the outcome you're looking for.
Right.
Yep.
No, but here's a question for you. It's human nature to want what you don't have. But what happens when you get what you think you want, but that's not what you really want?
Oh, you make me
think.
think.
Course correction there.
Yeah, well, you make me think of people that have lots of money and they're miserable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's because,
For what reason? How are they doing it wrong?
Well, because they've been focused on the money. It's not about the money. It's about, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? What's your purpose for the money? What do you want to do to go out and help the world? What do it shouldn't be about the money. It's got to be about something bigger than you. And there's lots of examples of wealthy people who are doing good and they're happy and they're in good shape. But then there's others that are miserable, and they've been so focused on that money that there's nothing bigger than the money that they're looking at.
Well, here's why they're miserable. And I've been in those shoes, because you grow up in this country, especially as a male, to chase the almighty buck, at least in my generation and other generations above us. Okay. I think the younger generations are looking to change that, which is a good thing, because, I mean, listen, that's your primary motive, but you don't know why you're chasing the buck. So that's the problem. That's why people are miserable, because they get the bucks, but they didn't know why they were getting the bucks or what it's for. And so they're still in a point where they're either confused or they're unhappy because they're not happy, because because this country, from my generation, Gen X and boomers and everything above, it's like your basis of success is money. Okay. That's how success is based. But then you find out once you get all that money that you're not successful, because that is not the basis of success. Happiness is the basis of success. Right. Now, exactly. Can money provide that for you? It sure can. Sure. But it depends on the person. Like, we have this cookie cutter thing for everybody, like of what money why it should make you happy. But maybe there's 4 of us here. Okay. Maybe for one person, getting a bunch of real estate, and that would make them happy. Okay. For somebody else here, maybe the fact that they have enough money that they could pursue a passion of like art or music or something like that without worrying about making money, that could be success. For people in Louisiana, maybe they learn how to overcome hurricanes and tornadoes, and that's success, and put money towards that, or if you're Bonita Bell-Andersen, you put it towards changing your life.
Right.
And helping other people.
Well, I invested in myself to do this podcast, because could I just sit back and just do whatever? Well, I want to still give back. I want to be able to do more and share the things that I've learned. Now, on that whole thing about, like, one thing that I love doing, I have a special lake up in northern Idaho called Priest Lake. I love going there with my family. Now, it can cost a lot of money for like a cabin, but right. If I can use money to pay for a cabin, which facilitates getting all of my family together to sit on the deck and go play in the water, and that's what the money's for, is to facilitate the connections with family and to do the things that you love and be in the environments that you want to be in.
Now, I'm sure that initially you asked yourself the questions to find out that was what the money was for.
Yeah. Basically, it's been maybe 15 to 20 years ago that I really started looking at, I've been in this industry for 25 years, and I really started, actually it was 2008. So that would be 8 years in, because it was about 2000. And I started asking myself why. And so the why came over time, but really it was like, no, there's a bigger reason.
And here's a good example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to go around the table here, the proverbial virtual table here. And I'm going to ask each person from that. All of us come from different walks of life, different geographic locations, and possibly different generations. And so if you were to take one word to define success, what would it be? And let's start with Studio Nut, because Studio Nut represents that better younger generation that puts a lot less value on paper currency on National Paper Currency Day.
As a millennial, I can say that, for me, success means tranquility.
See that's something my generation would never think of ever in a million years. Because if you said that to your dad, that was your goal for success as a guy, oh my God, it would not be good.
Well, you said to describe it in one word, but it's a lot deeper than that, because life is very stressful. There's a lot of things that can cause stress or make you unhappy. Basically, that the pursuit of happiness gives about peace. So the more you pursue that, the more you achieve that state of tranquility of not having to worry about certain things, because you have achieved that level of success.
It makes a lot of sense. And yes, there's so much deepness to that word. So that's why it's such a great answer. And, that's why I'm always saying to Rebel all the time, tranquilo, Rebel, your turn.
I am not sure. I don't have a one word. I'm one of those people who don't know.
Okay, so if you were sure, if you were sure and you had to pick
all right,
one
Tony
word,
Robbins, I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah. So if you had to pick one word, if your life depended on it, what would it be? What would it be?
What was the question? I don't know.
She was yelling at you.
I know. If there was one word, you know, like there's one word, if you were to just think of the first thing that comes to your head without thinking about it, what would it be? That would mean success to you, mean happiness to you. Right there is why you need to ask good questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take money for a second.
An answer.
No, it is an answer. It is an answer. Now let's dig deeper. Okay, so what is the money going to provide for you that defines success for you?
Land,
so land might be your answer.
Land, but it needs a house on it. It needs a building. Okay. Land that's livable, sustainable, and that I can use to replant trees and help the earth.
Ooh,
see, it's not one thing.
Well, see that, but it is one thing because it's the land. Because without the land, you don't have the rest of it.
Without the money, I can't get the land. See, it's a domino effect.
But if your goal is the land opposed to the money, there's much more value on that. When your goal is the money, there's really no value because money only has the value we put to it.
So,
Bonita?
Rebel, ask yourself, Rebel, then ask yourself, how do I get the resources to buy that land?
Mm-hmm.
I have to.
Good question. Yeah,
so
but
just start asking yourself that.
Yeah, you have to earn it.
That's the only way that you have to earn it. I don't work in a mint, so therefore I have to earn money. But
okay, so ask the how question again.
You have struck a chord here, Dean.
I think it's good though, because people don't think about it. Okay, and that question how is like perfect because every answer you give yourself, you don't have to give us any more answers. You could just say how. Like you said, you have to earn it. So my next question would be to myself, how? And just keep asking that question until you get the answers.
And that's chasing the dollar. So guess what? That's what you're doing.
No, you're chasing what the dollar accomplishes. There's a big difference. When you chase the dollar, it's like chasing your tail. Say that again, Rebel.
I must be doing it wrong because I don't have it. So therefore.
Well, that's why you ask good questions.
Cycle here.
That's why you ask good questions. What other advice do you have, Bonita, for Rebel in that realm?
Well, remember the story I told about being completely broken and sucking my thumb and just, when I think of one word, it's persistence, because I have been in the room when I have seen millionaires which millionaire is not that big of a deal anymore, but I have been in a room where I have seen a panel of like 5 people who have the most horrendous examples of loss and chaos financially, who have all come back. And the reason is because, remember what I told myself? I said, damn it, I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm going to find a way. Because my bigger purpose was about family and connection and how my girls were doing. And, this thing also affected a whole lot of friends.
Yeah.
And family. So persistence, if you fail, and who is it, Dean, that says, you've just found another way that it didn't work? Well, actually, that was Edison.
Yeah.
Had 10,000 ways that he tried to make a light bulb.
Yep.
And he finally found the correct way. So you have to look at all of this stuff in the same way.
I have viewpoints in that very much so, because you hit one of my favorite words. If people have known me If they were to describe me in one word, persistent is the word. And it is one of my biggest things. Look, he's even laughing.
Yep.
See?
It's true though. Like
you know, so one of my favorite passages from a book, that's not my book, but no, seriously, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. Everybody in the world should read that book. You won't find it in the self-help section. You find it actually in the religious section, but it's not a religious book. But it does have some guidelines of it, which is kind of cool about it. So it's for changing your habits and changing your thought processes. And it's a very thin book that takes 10 months to read if you do it properly. Mm-hmm. And it has these ancient scrolls, kind of like the Torah, but different, but same concept. And you read these ancient scrolls. And my favorite ancient scroll in that book is I will persist until I succeed. I am not I'm a sheep waiting to be prodded by my shepherd. I refuse to walk and talk with the sheep. I am a lion. I am a lion, and I refuse to walk and talk with the sheep. The slaughterhouse of failure is not my destiny. I will persist until I succeed. And the greatest successes of our world in history have all failed way more times than they succeeded. I am a big believer you have to be willing to fail in order to succeed. A few years back, I think you remember, Rebel, I was going and polishing up on my ice skating lessons with a coach, and he says to me, "You never fall." And I thought that was a good thing. See, that's another thing. We think certain things are good things. And he said, that's not a good thing. That means that you're not willing to fall to get better. And you have to fall to get better. And it is true. When you're doing something like ice skating, you have to fall to get better at it. Okay. And if you're not willing to take that risk, you're always going to stay at the level that you're at. And that's the point. Most people aren't willing to take that risk. Most people, or they don't have enough confidence in themselves to take that risk. But you know what? When you have nothing else to fall back on, you fall forward. I'm a big believer in that. When I started this radio network, it was about the same time you're talking about. This radio network was started in 2008. And basically, it was the end of 2007, beginning of 2008. We were in the what was deemed then the worst economy in U.S. history. I had just came off the worst time in my whole life, went through 2 divorces, went from making 150 grand a month to zero, lost every bit of money I had, lost my vehicle, my home, everything. Had zero, zip, zilch. And that's when I started this network with a vision. Like, I predicted, and Rebel can tell you she's been around long enough, that I predicted things that were fictional then that are everyday life today. Everybody thought I was nuts, blah, blah, blah. And that's the thing. You have to be willing to go out and do things that people think you're nuts for doing. Right. You know, because that's why they can't succeed, because they're not willing to do that. You know, you need to be.
Producer tell it to her kids all the time. You have to be willing to do what other people won't do.
Absolutely. I say it all the time. You have to be willing to do. It's 2 things I say. You have to be willing to do what everybody else is not willing to do. And you have to be willing to do the things that people above you, like generally people nowadays, they have this aversion to people more successful than them. And instead of using them as a role model, they bash them or they make fun of them or they do this. Listen, like, I don't have to like the person higher at my level, but obviously they got higher for a reason. And I want to learn from that. I'm not going to put that down, or else I'm just going to stay where I am. And like, even without
I've
any,
got a good example.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and we can all see this in today's news networks and everything. And the person I'm thinking of is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy that he is not motivated by money. You can clearly see that. He's motivated by addressing humanity's most pressing problems. And he's willing to blow up rockets another one just blew up a couple of days ago. And he goes on because he's working out what are the things we need to learn in order to move forward. And he's willing to do things that almost everybody else is not willing to do.
Yeah.
Watch millions of dollars go up in carnage in the sky. And then they go back and they go, oh, gee, we should have done this instead of that. Mm-hmm. But he's a good example of somebody that a lot of people either love him or hate him.
I'll give you another good example having to do with persistence. And this has nothing to do with liking him, not liking him, or what have you. It's just using the facts. Yep. There's somebody right now that ran for president 4 times, failed twice, went bankruptcy several times. People bust his chops for going bankruptcy. I don't have a problem with that. It means he was willing to take the risk to gain it all. Like, you have to really be willing to risk it all to get it all. And just persistent, that now his nickname is the Teflon Don, but whether you like him or not, and whether you like his policies or not, you have to admire the fact that nobody can take him down. And I don't mean take him down in a bad way, but he has enough belief in himself and enough persistence to do whatever it takes. And look, who would have thought that he would have won this election the way he did? And again, nothing to do with politics at all. Simply having to do with, most of the people that achieve great success, they're all hated. People don't like them. People are jealous. But these people have done what you're not willing to do. They have gone through so much hell to get where they are. Even you look at musicians like Metallica right now, one of the biggest bands in the world. They, for 10 years, slept on a floor with 12 other people and ate bologna sandwiches with no bread. Most people aren't willing to do that. You talk to everyday people and it's like, oh, I can't do that because then I wouldn't be able to pay my bills, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. Listen, you can't afford not to, and so what? If you fall on your face, you wipe yourself off and pick yourself back up, and you just keep going. I'm that dude that if I were in a fight with Mike Tyson, he can knock me down on the ground 50 times and I'll probably wouldn't even be able to stand, and I'd still stand up. And that's what it takes to be successful. And successful is defining what success means to you. I've always talked about this in my seminars. Define success for you, not society's rules. I always talk about society's rules, and that's why we fail, because we're going after success based on society's rules that don't apply to us. You find out what applies to you, what's going to make you happy, what's going to make you successful, and follow that roadmap. So
what is your why?
There it is. That is the most important question. The most important good question you could ever ask. There's one last important, really good question I have to ask. Bonita, tell everybody how they can reach out to you on your websites, your social medias, how they can view your show, how they can check out your podcast, and everything you want to know for them to reach out and contact you.
There's actually probably the easiest way to answer that is to go to the podcast website, which is askgoodquestionspodcast.com. And under bonus downloads is a sheet. There's a place there where you can go and all of my contact information is there. And you can also see a lot of the episodes that I've done.
It also has links to your socials, has links to all the podcast outlets for your podcast. And then you can catch the live show. When can they catch the live show and where? Well, it must be the same station as this.
It must be. The live show, and Juan is in the background taking care of all that techie stuff. That is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern.
So after you watch my show at 1 p.m., just stay on the station till 6, so you can ask some good questions. And so, are there any final words you want to leave our listeners with, Bonita?
Well, I had a quote, but it's probably too. basically, no matter how it comes to you, no matter what happens in your life, it's what you make of it. You just decide to feel empowered. You decide to do something good and useful, and go with your why.
There it is. The why. That's the most important thing. And it's usually the question we don't ask ourselves and we don't know. And that's why we're running aimlessly through life, chasing after things that we don't, and we end up not even wanting once we get it. The why will cure that. So thank you very much, Bonita, for all you do to help people and your show and your advice and everything else. And it was a pleasure to have you here on the Adventures of Pipeman. You got out with minimal damage of me harassing you. And I can't say the same about my pipe nuts, but, you know, that's just the way it is. And so everybody, you tune in tomorrow to Travel Tuesday, where we're going to be talking about some cool travel stuff. And we're going to be talking about, in addition to the Pipeman Radio Tour, they just announced the lineup for Aftershock Festival in Sacramento, California. And it's Pipeman's favorite lineup of the whole Pipeman Radio Tour. So you're going to have to tune in tomorrow because we're going to be giving away tickets on tomorrow's show. Again, same pipe time, same pipe channel, W4CY Radio, W4CY.com, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday is WTF Wednesday because I wake up every morning and I just say to myself, WTF, because this world is nuts. And if the pipe man thinks it's nuts, it must be super nuts. But tune in because we're going to have a lot of cool stuff and we're going to be doing ticket giveaways there. And if you missed any part of this, you can catch the podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Just go to the Adventures of Pipeman, or you can catch it on the adventurespipeman.com, where we have the video and we have the audio and all that good stuff. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Bonita, for being here and gracing our presence. And Rebel, thank you for being here. And I don't know why, but thank you. And and Juan, thank you for making sure that I didn't go off the air during the show, because that's the most important part. And everybody, again, the Adventures Pipeman right here on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. We will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Roll it, Juan.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.